We don't often think of farming as producing wine, but here's a family that proves the point.
Mary and I have enjoyed wine ever since we've known each other, which is well over 40 years at this point. And when we purchased this farm in 2004, we wanted to do something that was going to keep it in productive agriculture. And we sort of jokingly said to one another, well, let's plant grapes and make wine. And what started out as an almost joke suddenly got more and more serious. In 2008, we planted 1/4 of an acre of grapevines, mostly a variety called Marquette. The vines did great. We harvested about a ton of grapes off of them in the fall of 2010. Made our first batch of wine that year and shared it with family and friends who gave it universally good reviews. So we said, let's keep going. And so we're up to 3.5 acres now, and we just recently completed our fall 2015 harvest when we picked well over 12 tons of grapes off that 3.5 acres. My wife and I both really enjoy the history of where we live. It's pretty seminal to the foundation of our nation, and it's just so rich. Linking our wines to the history of this area, we think helps us build with our customers a sense of place about where our wine comes from. And that's another reason why we chose to use only grapes that we grow here, because right from the very beginning, our grapes are of this place. We call ourselves Victory View Vineyard because we're directly east from the Saratoga National Historical Park, which is just west of us across the Hudson River. And from the top of our vineyard, when we look to the west, we're looking right at the site where the turning point battles of the American Revolution were fought in 1777. The other thing that comes into play in our wine names is because most of the varieties of grapes we grow are relatively new and many people don't know about them, we decided we'd give each of our wines an artistic name that is linked to that period in history. During the growing season, we're primarily managing the canopy on the vines so that the grapes hang out in the air, they get lots of sunlight, which helps them develop the desirable flavor elements. The canopy management is a lot of hands-on work. We'll touch each vine somewhere between 12 and 15 times during the course of the growing season. Some of those touches are a little more than a handshake, and other times we'll spend 4 or 5 minutes with each vine training the shoots to grow the way we want, or thinning out the canopy so that we can get air and sunlight in onto the grape clusters.
Victory View Vineyard is exceptional among the wineries in this region.
In Washington, Saratoga, and Warren counties, we now have about 14 wineries in operation or soon to be in operation. What makes us unique among those is right at this moment, we're the only one of those that uses exclusively the grapes we grow on our own farm. There's been a lot of interaction between the New York State Wine and Grape Foundation, Governor Cuomo's administration, and the legislature in order to make getting started in the craft beverage industry more straightforward, and then complying with the requirements to be more straightforward as well.
Aside from the normal federal and state regulations regarding alcohol, starting a winery in New York State can be challenging.
We're fortunate in New York State to have a really good cooperative extension system that's run through Cornell University. Cornell just happens to be one of the world-class universities with a viticulture and enology program, and they transfer what they learn and know there through cooperative extension to people like us who are relative rookies in this business. I have a good background in science, and especially biology, but also in chemistry. And also my family roots are in farming. So I did have some skills that were pretty directly applicable to this business. In this part of the town of Easton, we're blessed with really good soils. The saying is that grapes don't like wet feet, so having well-drained soils is good. We're fortunate that most of our soils don't have a lot of clay. The other thing we have going for us is that we're located mostly on gently rolling hills, and those hills provide slopes that mean that air moves constantly around here. So that helps to protect us against spring frosts. It helps to dry things out after a rain. We also have a very nice southerly aspect to our vineyard site, so we get the direct rays of the sun most of the day, and being slightly tilted to the south, that sunshine is nicely concentrated on the vines, and that really helps us to grow very high quality fruit.
And there is artistry and craft in bringing that high quality fruit to a high quality wine.
Winemaking is primarily a biological process. We rely on yeast to turn the sugar in grape juice into alcohol. We rely on some selected strains of bacteria to help us manage the acidity in wine. And then we just have to be patient. It typically takes us between 10 and 18 months from the time of harvest until we're ready to bottle and release a particular variety of wine. And because we do rely exclusively on our own grapes, we get one shot a year to do that. And when the results of that process are gone, we don't get another shot until the next harvest.
I would say that Jerry's wines are going to cause a revolution in winemaking in Washington County, and of course Jerry has very thoughtfully named his Marquette Revolution. Good luck to you.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.